The judiciary is the last hope of the common man. Rightly so. It has over the years helped to shape democracy with many landmark decisions. But recent developments in the sector show that it is fast becoming a system that may be losing its steam and fierceness. This is because of accusations and counter-accusations of corruption among the top echelon of the judiciary, unethical conduct, and deeply eroded public confidence in the integrity and impartiality of the judiciary. Last week, 14 justices of the Supreme Court accused the now former Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN, Justice Tanko Muhammad, of mismanagement of resources and poor leadership. How can the judiciary reposition itself? Joining us in the studio to discuss the push for judicial reforms and probity is lawyer and human rights activist Femi Falana, SAN. You're welcome to this show.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you, John.
What did you make of the story when it started to unfold?
I think I would like to start with your first sentence. The judiciary is not the last hope of the common man. In a bourgeois society, you might say it's the last hope of the rich. Because the poor have no access to the courts. It's only the rich that can access
Get to the Supreme Court.
If you attack a poor man, if you slap a poor man, he will say, God day. But the rich man will say, I'm taking you to court. So that's the difference. Even the lady of justice, right, who is blindfolded, has had the scarf removed and sometimes raped by the rich, you know. Wow. But on a very serious note, the judiciary, no doubt, has attempted to stabilize the politics through a lot of far-reaching decisions, or what you might call landmark judgments. In spite of the allegations oozing out of the judiciary, or what you call the top echelon of the judiciary, I would like to say that, unlike other arms of government, judiciary is the only one that has developed an internal mechanism for dealing with allegations of corruption and the rest of them. If anybody sends a petition to the National Judicial Council, you'll be sure, except it's a very frivolous petition, it's going to be attended to. And any judge that has been indicted or alleged will have to be asked to answer necessary queries. In this particular instance, now I've made the point, those allegations will have to go to the National Judicial Council, because that is the decision of the Supreme Court. In the case of Federal Republic of Nigeria and Ndagiwa, you know, which is to the fact that any allegations of corruption, mismanagement of funds, money laundering, and so on and so forth, against judges will have to go to the National Judicial Council for investigation and perhaps indictment before the anti-graft agencies can, or the police can charge them to court. So I believe the proper thing has to be done in this case. So, notwithstanding the fact that the Honorable Justice Tanko Muhammad has resigned.
Considering that, the Senate has said that they will have to look into this issue by probing the case, especially from the memo that was written by 14 justices. What is the place of the Senate in this instance when the NJC is going to handle the issue internally?
The Senate has no powers to look into them. With profound respect to the chair of the Judiciary Committee, Senator Bamidele Okoyemi, who I have my respect for. As far as the law is concerned here, you have the National Judicial Council, empowered by the Constitution to examine such allegations. And in this case, I must confess, the National Assembly has itself to blame for the problems we are currently encountering in the judiciary.
How is that?
So?
You know, Section 81 of the Constitution prescribes that the president shall submit the budget of the country to the National Assembly for consideration. And there is a decision of the court in the case of Olisa Agbakoba and the National Assembly to the effect that the budget of the judiciary will have to be prepared by the National Judicial Council, and once it is prepared, it shall be submitted to the National Assembly. What the National Assembly has done over the years is not to look at the budget, just to pass it as it is sent to them. And this is causing the problems. We must know what you are budgeting for, what you go for, replacement of cars, of judges, recurrent expenditure, and the rest of them. But there are no details. And it's against the Constitution to pass a budget without examining it. No, even the items are not set out, not outlined. And the president, again, also signs such a bill into law. So we're just told in the last 2 or 3 years, 110 billion naira is voted for the judiciary. We do not know what the items are for. So it's been very difficult for some of us to campaign for increase in the budget, because we don't know what the budget is all about. And this is what has caused some of this problem. And you also have a dangerous situation where only one person decides on the budget of the judiciary, and also implements. Again, it's not part of our law that judges will manage funds. So you must be busy writing your judgments,
yes.
hearing cases. And that is why the chief registrar of the Supreme Court and the chief registrars of the respective courts are assigned by law to be the accounting officers. So judges are not expected to manage funds.
Yeah, but this has been the case not only with the Supreme Court, but court heads.
No, that's why I'm also talking of chief registrar of the Supreme Court, another chief registrar. Yes. Because if we had all listened to Justice Ejembi Eko when he retired last month, this perhaps would not have happened. In fact, his lordship was inviting the anti-graft agencies to examine the accounts of the courts, not just the Supreme Court.
But if we have a situation where we have 3 equal arms of government, and the president, like the executive, is supposed to submit a budget, we expect a situation where the judiciary, as a 3rd independent arm of government, also submits a budget
That is the decision of the court.
So how helpless is the court, or the judiciary, let me say, how helpless is the judiciary to ensure that that happens?
You see, if you go back to the protest letter by the 14 justices of the Supreme Court, for me, the judges were particularizing. They were really dealing with
details,
specifics. But some of these problems are institutional. Some are even self-induced. If there is a judgment of a court to the effect that, in fact, 2 judgments, one by Agbakoba, one by Judicial, that's the judiciary staff, Association of Nigeria, to the effect that judiciary shall have financial autonomy. But what has happened? Judges, instead of insisting on the implementation of both judgments, judges go camp in hand to the executive to ask for funds to run the courts. In fact, you report this from time to time when governors are giving out cars to judges, Yes. The chief judge
is very happy.
Exactly.
Very happy. He will give a speech thanking His Excellency. Why the governor will call the tape? And it's only a Nigerian phenomenon. You didn't manufacture the car. So why are you cutting a tape? The cars are ready. Distribute them. And stop wasting money on unnecessary ceremonies. But it is meant to humiliate our judges. But the point I'm making is that it is self-induced. The chief judge has no business going to the governor to collect cars for judges. That should be taken from your own budget. That's the point I'm making.
Does it bother you that the last two CJNs have left the office under the cloud of corruption? Does it bother you?
No, no, it is not. It is very strange because it is often said that judges must live
Above board
like Caesar's wife. But you know, in a highly corrupt society, it will be strange not to have corrupt public officers at all levels. So the judiciary cannot operate in vacuum. We're part of this society. However, as I said, the judiciary has a way of dealing with its own, unlike the executive and the legislature. Right? So in the case of the judiciary, once there are allegations of misappropriation of funds or misconduct, the NJC will look at it. And it has to happen in this case.
We're still looking forward to the autonomy of the judiciary, like we always and often expect. Moves have been made at different times. If that step has to be taken for us to...
No, we don't need to take it. It's already taken by the Constitution.
All right.
Section 84
but we're not seeing
is very
that in
clear.
practical terms.
Section 123 of the is very clear at the level of the state. The judiciary, all the funds appropriated for the court will have to be paid to the head of the court. Through the NJC. But what happens now is that the executive, arms of the executive, the executive find it difficult to recognize the independence of the judiciary.
Professor Ishesake,
It's all meant to subvert democracy.
Professor Ishesake was on this show last week, in which he was complaining about the justices themselves, saying that the justices themselves who are now acting as though they are like pure, really gorgeously powerful people of judiciary. He said they themselves too are not really pure, and that we should not look at this situation as though it was just Tanko that was a sinner here. That is a chamber of sinners.
As far as the protest
those are my words, not his words, yes.
As far as the protest letter is concerned, allegations are made, right? In the rejoinder by the CJN, by the former CJ, Chief Justice, all he said was that the Supreme Court justices were dancing naked in the marketplace. And as I said in an interview on Sunday,
I saw it.
by also going public, His Lordship was also dancing naked in the marketplace. Yes. But what is important, allegations have been made. They have to be investigated. Further justices are indicted, so be it. But as far as we are concerned, we must take these matters one after the other. I do not have, for me, I'm not privileged to engage in a fallacy of generalization, you know. I would rather want to deal with specifics.
That's a clever way. Now, let us even move to some other issues. Look at EKWEREMADU now. We're trying to defend him in court. What is your view of that in the UK?
I have no problem with that. A precedent is being established. Whoever is charged in the United Kingdom or anywhere, Nigeria will have to.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Have to defend.
Yeah, because there is equality before the law.
Exactly.
I do hope that the government appreciates the implication of sending lawyers or mobilizing lawyers or paying lawyers to defend a citizen charged with a criminal offense outside the country. I have no problem with that. But Nigerians must be treated equally. Henceforth, any Nigerian charged for any offense whatsoever abroad will have to be defended by the government. It's a good development. It's a good development. I think when this is what we see Professor Bolaji Akinyemi was talking of, citizen diplomacy. I think they want to practicalize it.
But this is dangerous. If I have akara and eco matter in North London, I will say, okay, Nigeria, come and defend me.
No, even if you are caught with drugs, once you establish a precedent. Equals must be treated equally.
But those are the ideals when it comes to the practice of it.
You see, this country
Yeah.
should be run by law, not by sentiments or whims and caprices of the people in power. If you are sending a delegation to the United Kingdom because a big man is charged with an offense, you must also do same, to other citizens. I have no problem with it. In fact, I like it. Yes. So that tomorrow when anybody is charged in the United Kingdom, unlike here, a Nigerian will go to court. You must defend me.
Yeah.
Yes.
It will become an absurd thing because it will get to a situation where in the budget they'll say, okay, there has to be a budget cap
Of course.
for cases abroad.
No, once
whether in Australia or in
diaspora cases.
Rwanda
or China.
Or China.
Once you start it, there will be no end to it. And I do hope the government appreciate the financial implications
of this, yes.
of this adventure.
Even if it's a 419 case
I
or
said-
a drug
I said
case
drug.
in
Any
Thailand.
case.
Oh yeah, drug related
or in South Africa.
Or in South Africa. You have to defend your citizens.
All right.
So that's what we are being told now.
All right, let's keep an eye on the positive side of it then. But let's take you to ZAMFARA State. I know you've been following this development there. And the security situation has been so bad. And in fact, some persons have interpreted the Governor Matawale's move to call for people to defend themselves as a frustration. And then the Chief of Defense Staff had responded to that, saying that the governor doesn't have the right or the powers to call for that. What do you make in the eyes of the law? What do you make? Because we call the governors the chief security officers.
In the first place,
Yes.
the Chief of Defense Staff will have to appreciate we're operating a democratic system. This is not a military regime. No Chief of Staff, no general has the right to call a governor to order. The governor has been elected by his people.
Exactly.
Please, let us appreciate. In fact, that is why in some countries, I think Eritrea and a couple of countries in Africa, it is stated in the constitution that the Minister of Defense shall be a civilian. If we have transited from military rule to democratic rule, we must operate under the constitution. So if the Chief of Defense Staff has some complaint, there are procedures for dealing with it. The army could have written to the House of Assembly of that state that can call the governor to order. That's number one. Number two, when I read a publication, I think on Sunday, that the governor has asked people to defend themselves.
Yeah.
Well, not really to bear arms. He was asking them to apply for licenses so that there will be control.
Yes, that's to be armed.
Yeah. Now, frankly speaking, I was flabbergasted. And I had to contact the governor. I mean, I had to do that because I wanted to be sure if what I was reading was right. And His Excellency was polite enough to call back. I think he was on a trip when I called. And I said, this is what I've just read, Your Excellency. And he told me that we have tried all options and they have failed. What do you expect me to do?
That's what I said earlier.
Yeah, exactly. We mentioned this earlier.
Now, my position is this, where there must be control so that such, what you might call carte blanche, so that the directive is not abused. I would rather suggest, and I have made this suggestion to governors, you have set up security networks. In Lagos, it's called Neighborhood Watch.
Yeah.
Another parts in the west is called Amotekun. In the east, you have
Ibibiago.
In the north, you have Isba and the rest of that. In the northwest. In the northeast, you have JTF civilians.
Yes.
My position is this. And frankly speaking, I think the governors will have to sit up. The police powers in Nigeria are not vested exclusively in the president. No. They are vested in the Nigerian Police Council. And the Nigerian Police Council is constituted by 39 people. 3 federal public officers, the rest are the governors, 36 state governors, are members of the Nigerian Police Council. That body is empowered to administer, organize, and supervise the Nigerian police force. Unfortunately, those powers have been left exclusively, to
the hands of the president.
The president. Sometimes
as commander-in-chief.
Sometimes the Inspector General of Police. So the governors will have to take control and go to the meeting.
You have said
the
this
body never meets.
Yes.
And it's requisition a meeting.
Yes.
We have general insecurity in our country. I mean, the last year, the president said 2 governors came to see me from the southwest, complaining about insecurity.
Yes,
and I asked them, go back. So how would they go back and secure their people? It is by ensuring that those security networks are empowered, the officials are empowered to bear arms. Because you can't ask a man who has a dengon, Shakabula, to go and confront criminals with AK-47, pump action, and the rest of them. So that is why the governors will have to. And the law is there. In 2003, when President Obasanjo was trying to create the Civil Defense Corps,
yes.
I contacted some governors. This is the time to ask for state police, because Section 214 of the Constitution provides that there shall be only one police force in Nigeria, and there shall be no other one. So if the president decided to create another police force, you too should, through your members in the National Assembly, insist on state police. Unfortunately, we weren't listened to. And so the National Assembly created the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps, Now, between then and now, the federal government has empowered the EFCC, ICPC, Customs, Federal Road Safety Corps, Correctional Center, all of them to bear arms. Now, if they are not abused, why are state security networks not allowed to bear arms? The governors may have to go to court. Because what is good for the goose is good for the gander. And it's even discriminatory. Because Sam, as a responsible editor, can apply to the Inspector General of Police or the president. I want a license to bear arms to protect me and members of my family. They won't give me the license. But on a very serious note, if they can give you as an individual, I've challenged governors, go to court. If a few people can be given licenses to bear arms to protect themselves and their family members, why not give 10,000 licenses to young people in Lagos to bear arms to protect 20 million people? And it's going to be difficult for the government, for the federal government, to defend its position, because Section 42 of the Constitution has abolished discrimination on the basis of class, gender, religion, whatever. So if a few people are defended, right, all of us must be defended. And that is my position.
Maybe the thing for Matawale to do is to get his people to line up on the streets of ZAMFARA State and say that they are all waiting to get gun licenses. And that's a social upheaval.
Frankly speaking, I think the presidency has deliberately allowed the situation.
Yes.
Because in Borno State, the JTF personnel, JTF officials,
civilian JTF,
the civilian JTF members are given licenses to bear arms.
Yes.
Because you can't ask them to go and confront terrorists with
bows and arrows.
Bow and arrows, no.
All right. So I think we can keep going on and on and on. It's always a feisty moment of intellectual display and legal gymnastics with human rights lawyer. I call him the best of his generation, Femi Falana. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Yes.
Right.